I'd like to get started with this afternoon's program.
Okay.
Is everybody inside who'd like to be inside? Let me check. Please. It gives me a great honor and opportunity to introduce to you one of the vanguards of chiropractic, and that's Pasquale Ceasoli. Pasquale Ceasoli was a mentor and a teacher to many of us. Graduated in 1943 from Eastern States Chiropractic School in New York City. After serving in the military during one of our world wars, he came back to Brooklyn, New York, and developed the largest practice in New York State. Pasquale practiced until 1968. And in 1968, while he was teaching at Columbia College, Chiropractic College, one of his students that was at his student doctor clinic had a patient who was a mentor, who was a spiritual advisor, so to say. And she said to the student, you have a doctor here that I need to speak to. So the student immediately knew that it was Pasquale. He ran and got Pasquale, and Pasquale spoke to this woman, who informed Pasquale that he was to do a few things. One, he would give up practicing, which he thought at the time was ridiculous. And the second, he would develop and form an organization called Self-Center, and that's CEL-F Center. Since that time, for the past 37 years, Pasquale has been serving chiropractic, been researching chiropractic, has been a seeker for chiropractic. Pasquale has also stood up for chiropractic. In 1963, Pasquale alone banked, financed, and took the New York State Board, Chiropractic Board, and the New York State Board of Education to court because of the type of exam that they were opposing to the chiropractor. It was a medical-based state exam. So he's been there with us for many years. This June we celebrated 60 years of chiropractic, serving chiropractic. I'd like to have Pasquale Ceasoli come up.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. Some of you have heard me before, some haven't. Some have heard why I became a chiropractor, and some haven't. And if some of you have, best thing I can tell you, repetition is good for your soul, okay? Now, I was born in 1911, September the 11th, you know that historical date. And when I was 3 years old, my mother, born here in America, but had only 4 years of education, and my father came from Europe. I don't need to tell you which part of Europe, you can see it, and the name tells you. So both of them, when I was born, said, look, we didn't have the nice things in life as being educated, so we'll send this boy to school as soon as possible. So they're going to send me to school at 4 years of age, better known as kindergarten. And when I was 3, they decided to vaccinate me. And they did. And a few weeks after vaccination, I became very sick, high fevers. In those days, people didn't run to the doctors as they do today. They took care of their own people. But after a few weeks, my not getting well, the doctor was called in. And when he looked at me, he asked my mother one question. Was your son vaccinated lately? And she said yes, about 3 weeks ago. And he said, well, he has spinal meningitis, better known today as post-vaccinal encephalitis and the whole spinal cord. And the prognosis was death. But I'm a tough little kid. I don't want to die. Now, with the help of my mother and father doing what they could do for me. Now, remember, there was no medical intervention here to get me well or to bring me back. They did what they could to bring me back. But I remained ill, and I became distorted. That is my structure. And 1 week out of every month, I would get sick. High fevers last for a whole week. Up until about 14 years old, I decided to take things into my own hands. So I started to exercise and read this pamphlet, this book, that book. I alleviated it a bit. It was better, but it never went away. So one day, a friend of mine asked me, "Why do you get sick so much?" I told him. He said, "You ever try a chiropractor?" A what? Chiropractor. I never. I don't even know what it is. I said, "Where do I find one?" Now I'm desperate. I want something. Because when I was sick and I'd go through those high fevers, I would pray and ask, "Show me the way to get well, and I will devote my entire life to it." So chiropractic came along. And I was introduced to one of the greats, Dr. Bill Werner, who had just come out of jail when I went in to see him. And when he looked at me, he said, "Young man, you know." I said, "I know, I'm very sick." He said, "You're willing to get well?" I said, "That's why I'm here." He said, "It's going to be a long haul." I said, "I don't care how long," because I was bent this way. This is the way I used to walk. So 3 times a week for 4 whole years, I went to his office. It took me an hour to get there, about an hour and a half before I would see Bill, and then another hour to get home. I wanted to get well. And when I got well, I went to school. I went to a school called the Eastern Chiropractic Institute in Manhattan. And there they taught us philosophy, but they had to jump on the gun because they taught us science also, and they taught us also philosophy. Now the science is very important because if we look at people, we all get some sort of a philosophy. We know that if we take a seed, put it into the ground, it grows. And if we know what type of seed we put into the ground, we also know that type was going to grow. In other words, if I put a cucumber seed into the ground, it's not going to bring up some carrot. Precision. Then later on, we get inquisitive, and we want to know how this works. And we find out they have DNAs and genes and so forth and so on. I'm not going to all the sciences, but I've given you a resume here. Now, what are we going to do with this science? We started with a philosophy We have a science. We should know that interference doesn't occur only at the intervertebral disc or at the intervertebral foramen, but it occurs at any joint within the spinal column. And it irritates them and starts to send in what we considered at that time inimical impulses, bad impulses. And these bad impulses would produce bad structures, which means illness. And by doing what we do, we never change that. We could assist the person to alter those structures back to normal. Now let me make you a parallel. You have a computer, and a computer is the hardware. But if you want some sort of a program put in there, you need a software. Even though the disk is hard, it's still software. Meaning that it's so pliable that you can play tricks with that so-called software. And that's the same thing with us. The whole neural system. Now notice I don't say nervous system because I am not a nervous guy. I am very calm, as you see. You don't see me running up and down this platform. I stay here where I belong. So you can concentrate on me. So you can hear me. I speak slowly and very distinctly so I can zap you or seed you. Oh, I'm a trickster. But I want you to get the message. But when you serve a person, you alter the structures. And remember, structure determines function. If you make the slightest adjustment in your automobile, you have altered the structure. And it will function according to how you have altered it. It's that simple. We make it too complicated. Now, what do we get? All right, let's talk about infectious diseases. I want to give you something. I want to whet your appetite. I can't give you the whole structural pattern here, but I can let you know such things do occur. Now, inside of our cells, we have many organelles, meaning small organs, but we have many other parts, and one of them is the granule. And all we have to do is look at the word granule, and we know it means a small grain or seed. Now, when the environment within us becomes favorable for some of those grains, those seeds, to stop germinating, they come out as germs. You ever have a cold and said, I don't know where the hell I caught it from? Right from inside of you. And again, what can chiropractic do? It can help to get rid of that debris that's within us, so the environment within returns to where it should be. Now you heard my introduction here. As I was teaching, I used to teach neurology and physiology and special senses. But the neurology is my favorite. Because you can run up and down those tracks and have a hell of a lot of fun. It's like going up and down different roads and seeing different sceneries. You use your imagination. Hell, you know, we, the humans, are the only creatures that have an imagination. We are the only ones that can see something for tomorrow or see something of yesterday. The others act and react. So you see now, what does that tell us? We are somewhat important, aren't we? But when a creature gets ill, say a dog or a cat that you have in your home, and you let it alone, forget the vet, you let it alone, that dog goes in a corner, that cat goes into a corner and stays there, lies there, won't even drink water. After several days it gets up, shakes itself, and starts yelling it wants some food. And after it eats the food, outside it wants to go. You wonder, where did that person get, or that creature get, all that food he has to reject at this time? There is something marvelous within us. We're marvelous. And it is in that creature also. And if we can't understand it within ourselves, we start looking around us. I don't have to talk to the people who are brought up on a farm. They have seen the cow bring out a calf, and they have seen the horse bring out a fowl, or the donkey, or the goats, or the sheep. Oh yeah, they know. They observe. This is why when I went to school, I came from the city. I was a city slicker, and I had a hell of a lot to learn. And these people, or students that came from the country, they knew all this. What a jump they had on me. But I went ahead and recognized that it was important. Again, there is something marvelous in it. But we make the error of separating that something marvelous. And it's all right to do it for the sake of talking, such as innate intelligence. Oh, we used to speak of universal intelligence. And then we spoke of God. And then God disappeared. Universal intelligence disappeared. And now there's a particular institute that thinks that should have complete dominance over us, called the CCP. And that institute tells us that innate is not necessary any longer. It is necessary. But I was fortunate to have an instructor, J. Robinson Brenner, who wrote The Science and Logic of Chiropractic. And I urge all of you to get a copy or get it from the library and read it. He was a logician. He taught me logic. And if any of you have talked to me since I landed here, you know I don't let you get away with anything when we are talking of something very seriously. Otherwise, we fool around and I fool around. But when we speak of how chiropractic works and why it works the way it does, Why does this happen? Not how, why? Now we're going into a philosophical realm again. Why? Hmm? You don't mind if I speak of our little experience, do you, Glenn? Okay. Now, the other night, when I got off the plane, Glenn was with me. He's been a wonderful companion all the way from my house. He picked me up to the airport and all the way to here. Well, we were glad to get off the plane, and we got down to the merry-go-round where the bags are. He said to me, "There's your bag, and there's mine over there." He grabs mine, and it is mine. He grabs another bag, but it was not his. He didn't know it till he came to the hotel here. Now, he had to go back and come back. Now we know how he did it. Why? Why? Yeah. That's the philosophy. There's a reason for everything. I don't have the answer yet, but one day I will. And these are the things I seek, because this is chiropractic. All around us is chiropractic. That blade of grass out there will take all eternity to try to understand it. This is chiropractic. Not that you're going out to adjust the blade of grass, but you look at it, you study it so you can understand chiropractic better. We made an error. We thought because we had innate, we had everything. But if we read D.D., he tells us outright that we are double or duality. And he puts it spiritual and physical. But today we would not say it that way. We would call it today innate and universal. Universal intelligence and innate intelligence. And later I will tell you how the spirit comes about. Now remember, if you are religious people, you will know by now that the spirit is the grace of God, the unmerited gift. Means we don't have to look for it. But to get there, what a job. Hello? The unmerited spirit. Now let's get back to when a grain or granule within us becomes fertilized. You know, it takes two to tango. It takes the egg or the seed and something to jab it so it can get going. But remember, those seeds are very, very specific. Just as the ovum of a female, very specific, cannot be impregnated by other sperms besides the human. That's specific. And when the neural system becomes irritated, either by what we call subluxations or by the cosmic rays going into us, because we have a cosmic door upstairs, the ozone layer is broken for the cosmic rays to come in. And when they do, they set up a particular type of impulse that carries the message for a particular granule. And when that granule becomes fertilized, it germinates. And what do we get? Oh, we can start with anything. Get worms, and get germs, bacteria, fungi, retroviruses, and others that we never even heard of. Yep. And these are scavengers. They start eating up things. They start eating us up. Talk about being a cannibal. You know, eat yourself up. Yes, that's what we do. We eat ourselves up. But they do excrete waste product. And that waste product must come out. But the body now is in dire need of extra something. Get them out. So you come along and you send in what D.D. said. The very basic principle of chiropractic is tone. And you send in a tone, and that tone resonates. And when it resonates throughout the whole body. And that resonance breaks up all those clogging stuff that can't be picked up by the venules and the fingers of the lymphatic system. It's that simple, people. So you pulverize it so it could come through. The proof, you like proof? Tell the person to watch the urine, and they'll come back and tell you, my God, it looks like tea that's been boiling for 2 or 3 hours. That's how dark it is. So let them be their own diagnosticians. Now I've given you a a quick resume of science and logic. Now I knew all this and I got into practice. Then I was active, as you've heard, and I dared take alcohol to court, and especially the chiropractic board. Yeah. You know what? We won. We won. And I'm going to be bold enough, if we didn't beat them, we would not be here today. Because when New York sounds its big guns, it goes throughout the whole nation, every one of them. That's the money place. They tried to kill us in New York for a long time, and they couldn't do it. So they decided to give us a license, better handcuffs and feathers. That's what I like to call it. But when they did, they gave us exams that were purely medical with a few little spots of chiropractic. And this is how we run the case. Now they had another problem. When I say they, the pharmaceutical houses that are controlled by the big money. And they had to get rid of us or keep us. And they knew they couldn't get rid of us. So they had to keep us. But they had to do something. And that cost money. Now my question is, who in hell in this calling took that money to create the CCE? I'm asking. Oh, I'm a bold guy. I talk from the platform. I talk from my heart. Remember, I made a vow that I would follow that which makes me well. And I will never give up until we come back to our purity, that we can perform chiropractic as it should be. And that all schools should do it that way. Now I've had patients that were adjusted, as we used to call us, tupers. You know what a tuper is? Inside of mommy's belly. And charge mommy, the baby got a free adjustment. That's a tuper. On healthy, taking adjustments, age 22 gets a horrible disease and passes on. That bothered me. What happened to innate? Why? I examined every book I could find, no answer. Best I can get, that innate, when we get sick, had limitation of matter, whatever the hell that means. I'm still trying to find out after all these years. But something is missing here. And so when that student came up to me and said he had this woman who wanted to get in touch with my spiritual teachers, be honest with you, I didn't know if this was a farce or what. What can I lose? Let me investigate it. And I did. And when the voices came to her, the first question was given to me, what do you want? I said, this is what I want. I want to know more so that I can assist my people better. Oh, I said, how wonderfully said, how wonderfully said, how wonderfully said, 3 times. Now, it took me a long time to recognize why 3 times. And they said, we will do what we can for you. And they spoke of metamorphosis, which means a change of structures within the body. And they showed me how to take words apart and find the hidden meaning within it. Like the first one they gave me was mortal. And he said, you take it apart, it's M-O-R-T-A-L, and it means more tall. Being mortal makes you more tall, not in height. They didn't tell me that, but I had to work this out. Not in height, but in wisdom. And there was a difference between wisdom and philosophy. And so I had to learn many things that I didn't know, that I took for granted, the things I told you at the beginning. That little flower that was growing in my backyard didn't know a damn thing about school, didn't know anything, but it knew how to grow. And the tree needs roots, but the roots are not enough, it needs leaves. So the leaves can take in fancy stuff, carbon dioxide and water, and through photosynthesis, make food. So you see, it's double. And it took me quite a while to understand what they meant by being double. So I'm going to digress a bit here and get to D.D. Palmer. Now remember that D.D. Palmer is the discoverer and founder of chiropractic. He is our root. He, incidentally, is the taproot. He is the one that dug the deepest, and we are the tributaries on that taproot. And as the depths so the heights, now it's time for these roots to imitate themselves and get to the top. And the top is the leaves above ground. And the leaves, as you know, as I told you, make food. So we're going through a metamorphosis. Now when I talk about DD, I am not saying that all other chiropractors haven't done anything. The only thing is I'm emphasizing is that if you have a tree and if the roots are not nourished, it shall surely die. And if we don't speak of DD, our words are our nourishment for those roots to grow, so that BJ, his son, can come up with it, and Bebot, right, and I can mention many. But no one understood what DD said, that we are double. We generate from our genitals, and we generate touch from our head. And as we need a sperm and an egg, so the head needs the same thing. But we know also that an ovum can be excited without a sperm, and it can go only so long, and a partial infant dies. So right now, I touch which are things which are that which stimulates the egg, the spirit. We have none. What do you know about that? We have none. So if you want spirit, yeah, you better ask for it on the outside than now. And this is why I carry this. You ever see some chicks and they become frightened? Maybe you saw it in the movies if you don't live where chicks are born. What do? They all flock together and run to mama. And what does she do? She lifts up her wings and then cuddles them. We need the spirit. And until we can make our own, ask your spirit guide for help. Now, how do we make our own? This is a long story. I will not probably go into it. But I want you to know that the universe is not outside. That's the cosmos. And the cosmos also has a partner called the chaos. But the universe inside of us is holographic. And you know, with a hologram, you have a certain picture there, and you take just a piece of it off, and you develop it, you get the whole picture. And that's what the universe is in us. It is, never was, never shall be. It is now. So how do we get our thoughts? Oh, the soul is there, which is a ventricle, similar to the heart. And a ventricle in Latin means belly, and the belly means the womb. Our thoughts are not fatal. They are stimulated. They're brought about by the egg only. And whatever debris is around stimulates it and produces a thought. But when we have our own spirit, that will bring on a thought that's pure. And then we'll have the truth. So you see, there's no truth out here, my dear people. None. The truth will lie within us. And this is why chiropractic came. Oh, to observe nature. We have spring, and we have summer, and we have autumn, or better fall. And then we have winter. And if you take 2 days, consecutive days in the week, let's say Saturday and Sunday, if you like, or Sunday and Monday, if you like, they become the spring. And the next 2 become the summer, and the next 2 become the fall, or ingathering, or the reaping. And what happens after that? The Lord rests. So there is a geological pattern outside, and it starts within us. 3,000 years of spring, 3,000 years of summer, 3,000 years of fall. For some will be autumn, and then we go into the winter age, or the rest age, whichever one we're destined for. Now, spring is to sow your seeds. Summer is to bring them into fruition. And autumn is to let them ripe and gather them and enjoy them. And winter is to rest. And while we're resting, that earth superficially is resting, but inside it's working tremendously. All the leaves that have fallen become disintegrated now. The land becomes fertile for the next season. So geographically, which really starts in us, see, I don't go along with we have to adjust with the environment outside. Suppose I do. If there's a hurricane out there, what do? Adjust with it? I can't. I'll be furious. I start killing people. So we do everything we possibly can to protect ourselves. So, Cannon's law doesn't set straight with chiropractic. Now, It is my feelings. I don't want you to hold me to it. It is my feelings that we have entered the spring age. We got a change coming. And you will see people becoming more and more spirituality. More spirituality will be preached. Of course, you'll have the kooks in there too, but it's up to you to eliminate them. The kooks are the ones who want to make money on you. Remember, the spirit is free. It is not supposed to be sold. And I like that MasterCard. Spirit cannot be sold, and everything else is MasterCard. I like it, huh? The spirit can't even be measured. The spirit is what the physicists call the electrons. No, wait. So the spirit doesn't fit into science. It is a thing of itself. And this belongs to you and me as chiropractors. And this is why D.D. was given chiropractic. Think of it. He got it from the spirit world. One man. At that time, there were 2 billion people in this planet. One man was picked, D.D. How dare we forget him? How dare we forget him? He must have been one special hell of a guy to be picked out of 2 billion people. Do you ever think of it? And then D.D. couldn't do anything. Now listen carefully, unless he had someone to put it into motion. And do we know who that is? Harvard Lillard. I could have the best idea in the world, but I need somebody to put it into motion. This is the way nature works. We mimic nature. But wouldn't it be better if we can take nature, clean her up, make her pure, let our thoughts be pure. So when we get a thought, it is fertile. And then we have the truth. And remember the phrase, know the truth. Don't just say the truth will make you free. You don't know what it is, it will never make you free. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And the truth lies within you. Don't look upon me for your truth. Look upon inside of you. Now, I'll tell you, and I'm not going to stay here much longer, I'll tell you that you have the potentials of being the crowning creation throughout this whole cosmos. That you are the universe. That you have the God creation in you. But it has to come to fruition. And it is through chiropractic you can help this come to fruition. Even God has to come from someplace. Yeah. Kind of a little different from all the stuff we ever learned outside, isn't it? But remember where I got it from. Not from Harvard University, which I have never gone. I've never gone to any college either. The best I got was high school, and then I went to chiropractic school. I didn't get it from any college. I got it from the University of HK. Hard knocks. Look around and learn. You'll learn so much. Remember, I want to leave you with this message. You have been chosen. This is not a profession. This is an invocation. You are calling yourself inside. Invocation. An inner calling. Now, how do I know? Take a look. 92. Take a look. That's how I know. If I'm to sell you a product, which I'm not selling you, but I'm trying to convince you what an idea, the proof must be with the person who's speaking. Do I look as if I'm going along the wrong path? Huh? So if you like what you've heard, seek it. Seek it. This is beautiful. There is nothing more beautiful. Seek it, and the joy shall be yours. And I'll be with you in mine for all eternity. Remember, I think I'll tell you a little joke. There was a minister who said, all my people pray to go to heaven, but none of them want to die to go there. I don't want to die to go to heaven. I want to live. I want to make the metamorphosis alive. But there was another one. This minister had a talk set up for a long time, but he was not going to tell it to his congregation unless every seat in that church was filled up. One day it happened. Out he comes with this lecture. And he lectures and lectures for an hour. Just as I'm talking, and some of you wonder when the hell is he going to stop? So finally, he comes to the end and asks his congregation, now, who will forgive your enemies? That was the topic, forgive your enemies. And 50% of the audience, all the congregation raised their hand. Not good enough, he said to himself, and he started all over. Another hour. Who now will forgive their enemies? 25% more raised their hands. So he's got 3/4 of the audience. He goes on and on for another hour. Who now will forgive their enemies? And everybody's tired, with the exception of one person. And he knows the person. Okay, put your hands down. Now, Mr. Jones, you didn't raise your hand. How come you won't forgive your enemy? He said, Parson, I have no enemy. You get it? How the hell are you going to forget it? So, in my closing words, you are all my loved ones. I love you. But if any of you make me your enemy, that's your problem, not mine. And thank you.
Okay, let's hear it one more time for Pasquale Ceasoli. I need exactly 45 seconds is all I ask. Just 45 seconds, real quick. As far as, just sit down for a second. I'm going to talk to you about a donation to the Life Foundation. And you know, as the universe is a law, as you give, you get. But don't give to the Life Foundation if you don't feel, if it's not a joyous give. And don't give to the Life Foundation if you're thinking, as I give, I shall receive. It must be joyous. It must be about what we're doing. If it's joyous, please give it. Give it to me. Give it to Dr. Dana Becher. God bless you. Have a good meeting. Who's next, Didi?
I got it.
Here we have the man who runs the show, Didi.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Once again, I aim for Dr. Pasquale. Ceasoli. Thank you, Pasquale. You got me speaking Italian. Had a great meeting. We had Dr. Romberg spoke this morning, as you know, instead of this afternoon. He was scheduled for this afternoon, but his plane was leaving a little early, so we got him on this morning. So that left us a little short. A young man that you heard yesterday when Dr. Sid, chiropractic, really a dedicated student, going to be a great chiropractor. Help me welcome Lou Hilliard.